Welcome to Splash Peak. This is actually going to be a one-off build of a flume in a natural environment. So we do have a big raft flume that goes through the nature of what kind of is a timber, woods kind of area. And this build is meant to inspire you to potentially use the flumes and slides in a bit of a different way. And this may become, or may not become, the beginning of a little bit of a side series. We'll decide afterwards, more about that during the video, but all I want to say is let's have a bit of fun today building a flume with a lot of nature, discussing a lot of the points, how good Planet Coaster 2 is when it comes to nature and terrain and stuff like that, and well, let's get going. So usually what you know is that I don't show you the result at the beginning, but today I thought it's kind of a good thing to have you sorted what you can expect from the video, because the way there, the process is actually equally important, and I'm gonna talk you through that one with a lot of details why I came to build this. And first things first, I just had that in mind for a long time, but the flumes just never had me so excited, you know? And apparently I never really delved too much into them, simply because I felt they were just not exciting enough, not realistic enough, and specifically when it came to the raft physics, not actually moving the slightest up the sides of the raft or of the flume, I was like not really in the mood to do anything with them. After my very first initial splash kind of, not splash mountain, what was that again? We made this kind of Disney-inspired water park we did at the beginning, but then I felt like, okay, I need to finish that because it just didn't spark my creativity. Now it does, and I decided actively against putting that into Hanseatic Dreamland because we already have quite enough water park elements in there. We have to kind of see what we do with it in the future, but for the moment, all it needs is more theme park-esque stuff, but not like this one over here. And so I thought, you know, let's start something new. And there is something in mind, or in my mind, that I wanted to do for a very, very long time. And I never really had the ability to start because I wanted to finish off certain other things. But now, as we've hit kind of a YouTube down, which is normal every year around early April, it's like the worst time after February. And I thought, you know, it's the time to start and try something else. And today we're doing exactly this with the Splash Peak, as I called it. And again, the idea is just to embed the entire flume in nature. There are a couple of things I needed to do, and I needed to just find the perfect color pattern, which was when I found out that you cannot recolor the raft, which I'm beyond confused. Like, this is something I did not expect, okay? This shall not be our biggest issue at this point, but I would have loved to be able to recolor the raft. Now, what you can see over here, and this is something I love so much about this game, not only about making this with the rides, that's something that has already been possible in the past, that we can easily, you know, intersect the terrain with the coasters and stuff. That's not new, but you can do the same with the pathways, and you'll see later on why this is so important. But seeing this over here, it's been a mega tedious work. I created that mountain, and in the grand scope of this build, this potentially is going to be an artificial one. So this could be a real kind of water park where this mountain has been built artificially and man-made. So this is what I'm going to do. I still want to make it look as nice as possible. Lately, I have replied to a comment of yours in, I don't know which video it was, but people were moaning about the fact how low quality the textures in this game was. I was like heavily saying, no, that's not right, and blah, blah, blah. And now I gotta admit, they had a point. I never really looked that closely up to the textures because I have not really had the urge to build something very nature prone, like very in the nature. Potentially should have talked to Aston, who's been very much into it with Wilderness Springs, but as I never did it, I assumed, because from looking from the distance, the textures in this game look fantastic. But the more you go closely up, I do now actually understand what the problem is, and they don't really hold up well when you're in first person. And if Frontier is able to give us a, I don't know, HD update, or you can actively select to have HD textures or 4K textures even, that would be very much appreciated, because specifically in this build over here, it was very obvious that I couldn't get to the level of detail I wanted to, unless I would have used the rocks, because the rocks are fine, you can scale them down and then you've got a nice texture, it's all fine. But the problem with the rocks is that it's been almost impossible to follow the roundish shape of the slide, and this is all the tube, and this is why I did this with the terrain. I must also admit that I love the fact that this new terrain option, or the terrain tool, has now the hardness slider as well as the intensity, which makes it so much more easy to really follow along the lines here and be very precise in getting the terrain ever so slightly over the edges, as you can see, because I wanted to have this whole thing completely embedded in the terrain and just make it seem like you're going through a natural canal in a kind of way, or like a natural river rapid area. I found this such a unique way of doing this in comparison to all these like very typical water park kind of things, and these things do exist in real life, you know, and I really like how they do look in real life and what kind of feeling they spark. And this is something I wanted to create, and it's a bit unfortunate because you will see that later on. Maybe you've seen it already in the cinematics. They are not yet filmed, but as of speaking. But I had a really big issue to get people on this ride, because the ride itself seems to be too boring for people, so it's not exciting enough for them to go up here, which is a bit of an odd one because it has some very nice moments. And yeah, I'm a bit confused to why that is, but the problem is the game doesn't take into account the scenery in the sense of making a ride lovable or not. Like, what I'm saying is that if you go, for example, to Disneyland, then you have Big Thunder Mountain, and it's one of my favorite roller coasters in the world, but the roller coaster itself isn't the greatest one. The roller coaster is maybe slightly above average when it comes to a normal roller coaster. It's a decent mine train, I guess, but it's not particularly exciting. But what is exciting is the whole experience in Disneyland Paris, going under the lake and having that kind of split station and the whole storyline, and 3 lift hills, and then going through the mines and having all these cinematic animatronics and stuff, like with the rocks coming closer to you and being animated. That is super cool and makes this ride so favorable for the people. And I really would love if Planco could take that more into consideration, because the scenery rating for this ride obviously is 100%. So that's crazy, you know. Even though they changed the system, apparently everything is very close to the ride, so it still gets to 100%. I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about, in the past the scenery rating is just, it didn't matter where exactly you put the scenery, unless it was relatively close to the ride. In one spot it's all good, so you could have just spammed one scenery item in one specific spot, and at some point the game was like, okay, yep, that's enough pieces, now it is 100%. That's not how it works right now. You have to kind of separate the pieces a bit nicer along your ride, which I think is great. But apparently this is still very good over here. Sure, there is no scenery rating in that sense, if it's looking nice or not, and honestly, also I would have not an idea how this is gonna be done in real life. But yeah, now we get to the point what I meant earlier. I just put down the queue over here, and now being able to just use the terrain and just paint around the path and immediately have it very close to it is just such a game changer. Yes, you do have a couple of issues here and there where, you know, the terrain has these kind of ugly glitches, whatever that is, but you can easily fix that with a smooth tool or anything, making that look easy in a second. So the next up was really getting in with a couple more textures, making sure that this mountain looks a bit more timberwood style, kind of, I don't know, North American, North European wood style. This is kind of what I was going for. I wish we would have kind of a different biome. We do have the tundra or taiga biome, I'm not sure which one of both it is, and we have the temperate one. I would love to have something that is kind of North European, North American. It is kind of tundra, isn't it? But a more pronounced version of it would be really cool. Anyways, now it was time to select my plants, and it's a bit of an odd one. I wanted to create, obviously, a scenery brush, and I didn't know which exact pieces I wanted, and so I was putting them down first to have an idea which exact pieces I was gonna choose for the scenery brush, and then I was testing the intensity and the different spacing and so on. I really highly recommend play around with the scenery brushes before you use them, because it can make a huge difference to how you're gonna use them. You really have to make sure they work exactly how you want them to work, because if not, you'll have to rework a lot, and even I had to rework a little bit in here. because I figured that some of the bracken pieces didn't really properly align nicely with the terrain. Not sure if I forgot to activate or deactivate that, but it just didn't turn out to be looking nice. I wanted to also mix in a couple of these mossy rocks over here just to get a bit of a nicer ground texture mix in as well. And then I wanted to cover mostly everything in greenery and so on. It looks pretty cool from the most part. A couple of those I needed to change. You'll see me in a bit deleting some of the scenery items individually because they were sticking out or just not aligning properly. That's something I didn't like. And then I also was putting in some individual bushes just to make sure it looks good. A couple of trees here and there. So give it really the feeling of being in the nature and making sure that an on-ride, which you're gonna see later on, don't worry, this will be my first video ever with a Raft on-ride in Planet Coaster 2. Hard to believe, but it's true. Because, you know, again, it wasn't exciting enough for me in the future, in the past to do that. Hopefully it's gonna be more in the future, because not only this ride, there are also some other stuff I wanted to do in this build. So again, it may be a start for a little series. I don't know if I do. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. It is kind of cool. I love it. It's really giving me a bit of creativity here. But then again, you have this special piece over here I used where the rafts come into this roundish dish and then they will go into the middle, but it's not an end piece, so it's almost like this kind of end twister, but it's not, like, it's definitely gonna keep on going, which I like. And I used this to have this very interesting interaction here with the nature, but this is exactly where the texture problem comes into play. It looks decent, but it's not looking as great as it could be, and this is something that really annoys me. And I will try something else for Lazy River. Not sure if the Lazy River goes into this build or not, but I have an idea what to try. I want to really make sure that the nature looks as good as it possibly can, because there are some really cool nature pieces in this game, and I do think it should look better than Planet Zoo does, for example, but in some places it does and some it don't, which is not the bestest thing to say about Planet Coaster 2. I'm not sure if Frontier took out a couple of these things, like the textures or so, in order to improve the performance. I'm not sure. I just some things are a little bit odd because I had them in mind in a different way from the early days of Planet Coaster 2. So maybe they did change sneakily certain things, but you know, as I said, it's all about finding out the right things. And again, it's not always about the game itself, it's also about the experience that you already have. And we obviously have a huge experience to deal with the nature in Planet Zoo, and also Planet Zoo has a bit more focus on nature apparently for the animals to have their suitable habitats, but that should not stop them from giving us the same tools. So yeah, but I still like what this turned out like looking. It's not really far away from how a good habitat in Planet Zoo would look like. I could do a couple more things here and there with the texture. I could definitely do a bit more with the nature, but again, this was more a proof of concept, which I'm gonna take further in the next step in this build, or in the builds in general. I'm a big fan of how it turned out in general. As you've seen, I just flew through here. I did one big oopsie. As you can see, I started with a glass starting piece, and apparently you cannot change this. It's a bit of an odd one. You have to delete the entire flume, or you're basically screwed. You can't change the starting piece, which really was an issue. I have an idea how to do it, but I'm not sure if this is gonna work, and I didn't want to create that much pain for this video alone, so I left it for the moment, but maybe we're gonna change it later on, because I felt like, okay. Then I was also going to build like a bit of a timber style house on top here, because I wanted to make the station be located in a enclosed environment of some sort, and in this space specifically I made this kind of log cabin over here. Granted, I've watched a couple of Long Dark videos lately. I still want to play this with you guys. I still want to play Long Dark with you, but apparently winter season for me is over, so naturally Long Dark comes into my mind for next year again, or for next winter I should say, not next year. Let's see if we can do it. That would be fun. And then I'm gonna use some of the corrugated iron roofs here from the western set. They work super well now together for like a, as I said, a bit more of a wilderness kind of inspired Northern American kind of style build, which is kind of cool that it does. It offers you so much more versatility. I love it. I really, really love it. was trying a couple things here with the roofs. It's not like the most detailed build ever. Again, proof of concept, please take that in mind. Sometimes, and this is why I wanted to make this video, sometimes it's very important to take you onto the process. So what I'm doing mostly is like I'm putting these things together to see if it works, if all the things come together in the arrangement that I envisioned it to be. So also having this queue over here leading up the hill, making sure to use one of these houses here as a queue part of area. Not sure if people would to be queuing so long for these things. So realistically, you would then need to give them some other options of having some splash pads or anything in between, or maybe some, at least to get some to drink or so. And last but not least, I wanted to add a bit of realism by giving a you know, what's I think kind of belt integrated that brings back the you know, the rafts, because that would be a huge issue in the build if the rafts always stick down to the ground. And I made this a bit bigger this time around because we've got these huge rafts. Apparently we don't have these type of rafts as a single piece. For the moment I used a placeholder. The normal inflatable raft kind of thingy is the one I used. I tried to build my own one, but I failed hard. I don't know what exactly I did wrong over here, but yeah, I just had a couple of those to align them with the main raft. And this is where I noticed that I can't change the color of the raft, which was a bit of an odd one. So maybe you can do this while attached scenery or so. I never checked if you can attach scenery even to these rafts. I mean, they do form kind of go conform with the shape now, which is super great. And I'm not sure if they can do this, but yeah, at some point I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go with this ring here instead. I tried to mimic the other one, but again, I failed a little bit, and I was too lazy then, in all honesty, to try it again and again until to find the right one. I will do something completely different with the build in the future, hopefully. Well, let's see how you guys find it and if this is exciting for you. I have an idea what I built here. If this is exciting enough for you, just trying to give that into your hands, you know. Maybe you notice. I don't know. It all depends on if I have the time and, you know, if I want to. Because next episode will be Hanseatic Dreamland again, because I have some other very cool ideas for that one. Thank you again for all your comments, by the way. There were some really cool things in the comments, and there's apparently one comment nailed it. This was already an idea I had in mind for a while, and so I'm gonna go with this. If people come up with this idea, maybe it's the right one. So yeah, as you can see, I'm building this hill over here where they realistically would be put back to the station. I use these kind of mats over here, these inflatable mats, as a almost rubber-like crazy belt. I'm not sure if that would work this way. My idea was like that you have this rubber belt where they are pushed over, and then maybe it's a bit wet so that there is not that much friction, and then in the middle you've got a chain on which this pole is mounted, which realistically doesn't work with the other type of rafts, but it would, because you can turn them around and then just hang them from the other side, which again, when I build them, I will do exactly this. Hopefully that's gonna look, and then I just did hide it. But yeah, that's already it with the voiceover. Let's move into the game and have a look how the final build is looking. Welcome to the real-time part, and now we are looking at the finished build, as you can tell over here. This is how it looks in-game. Don't worry about all these, you know, facilities over here. They're just in here so people actually walk up the hill. And we're going to quickly fly through the queue area, and then we're gonna go for a little on-ride because it's so fantastic. I definitely want to share that with you. So we're flying through the queue. Again, very natural, everything, you know, making up that hill over here. Going up there and then following this one through. Here's a little cabin, you know, where you can chill if you want to for a moment, get a bit less sun if needed, and then go all the way up here. Then there's a tiny last bit of stairs, you know, to get up here, and then we are back in the station, as you can tell. And now let's wait until they fill all these in. And I think, wait, hold on, is everyone in? Oops. Is everyone in? Is there a spot open? No, that's already it. Okay, cool. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to jump into this raft, and I'm going to say, actually, we're going to start with the first person view, and then we will later on make the chase cam, because the chase cam is kind of cool. But let's go on with this one. So yeah, there you go. We are starting. And woo! This is so freaking cool. Look at that. Look at this. The two ladies sharing the same swimsuit over here, and we are going to go fast down there. Woo! Oh my god, that pushed us high up. And then, yeah, this is so much more vibey than normally these typical kind of tubes, and everything is natural going through that waterfall. Having all these splashes around here is so cool. And then, you know, being in that little twister thingy within the nature, I think that looking so cool. Down here, a bit of excitement element, tiny bit of airtime even, and then we go through here, last little bit, following that one, wiggle back into what is then is that a brake run? The end piece, and then that is that. Okay, let's do it one more time, and this time around we're waiting for the next one and go into the chase cam, because the chase cam is pretty damn freaking cool. I saw that just when going through here to making some screenshots. That was really damn freaking cool. I've not even more words, because you can see the forming of the raft, which is so cool. You're gonna have to really see how that actually does conform, actually for free form, I don't know, goes through it. It's so cool, like how it does it exactly how it's meant to be. That is so awesome. Again, I wish they had done this for the, you know, first game at the beginning, like launch game. That would have been, people would have been so much more forgiven. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see how people would have reacted to this. It would have been so much better. But it's so ridiculous that you cannot recolor the raft. This is something that's beyond me at the moment. I'm gonna show you in a second that I'm not talking something stupid over here. But yeah, there we did it. We did it. Let's jump out real quick and have a look how everything looks from above. So there you can see it. I feel like the layout is really cool. Very coherent, very nice, very condensed, also very compact for the size given. You know, I wanted to create something that is doable and not too high actually. But then again, it also needed to be as good as it now looks. And yeah, I feel like this is really freaking cool. Also, when you look from here with the rings going up again, and you know, just that view over here is also freaking awesome. I love that. If you have like two of those at the same time, the one coming here, the one ending, I am a big fan. Anyways, we have to check out the raft, and just to show you, I also tried all the other ones, but as you can see, there's just a Flume cosmetics. You can create a sequence, but you cannot go and attach anything to the raft apparently, but you can also not change the color of the raft, which is odd. I've never thought about that because, as I said in the past, I didn't touch these things too often. What I also did is I put this camera tower up here because hopefully with the security cams, this will be a thing of the past. But like, you have to put it here to get a bit of a different field of view for making nice screenshots. I wish to just, you know, give me Ansel Connect to this game. Ansel from Nvidia is a, you know, overlay for the game where you can either change some color gradings, or you can basically, you know, do some cool things with the camera options. I'm not even sure if I can show you something. Sometimes it does work. So no, that game is still not supported. That's a pity. It's a pity. Anyways, you know what, guys? If you like this version of a Raft Flume kind of thing, and this idea, let me know in the comments down below your ideas what we could do with an area like this. I'm very keen to do a mini series of it, maybe 4 to 5 episodes, having maybe you know, 1 or 2 more rafts and body flumes or so. Maybe a nice pool, maybe a nice lazy river in this kind of, what is this, wood cabin kind of style, timber style, Northern American style? I don't know, what style would you call that? It's heavily inspired by the Sequoia Lodge in Disneyland. This is maybe my main inspiration for this typical style, I guess. But yeah. I think this is that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I know I did a lot. This was really important to squeeze that in to, you know, spark my creativity and see how good the rafts and stuff are now. I think very good. Give them a shot. Really good to do. And yeah, next episode of Planet Coaster 2 will potentially be again in Hanseatic Dreamland. You guys had some fantastic ideas I want to do. So let's see each other there. Until then, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Lately, by the way, I must say that, okay, while we check out the rafts from above, so you have a bit of a nice view. Lately, a lot of people have been unsubbed from YouTube because I do see that with the sub feed, but also I see it because kind of percentage of people watching the videos unsubbed versus subbed is ridiculous. So it's 80% people watching this video right now, statistically, are not subbed to the channel, while only 20% are subbed to the channel. So please change that statistic by just pressing that sub button to the bottom of this screen right now for you, and you would help me out a lot to tell the algorithm you like my stuff, and it's fine. It doesn't really change much for you because, as you all know, the feed is now fed by the content you like anyways, but for the creators it's very important to give them a follow, give them a subscription, because that always tells the algorithm your stuff is really good. We all know that if you don't subscribe to a channel, you will still get the content if you watch it, but again, this is convenient for you, but unfortunately not so convenient for the creators, because apparently after 3 or 4 videos, if you haven't subbed to a channel, then YouTube says, okay, you're not interested, and then you will be demoted from the feed, which is kind of an unfortunate thing to happen for creators who do this mostly in their free time and as a hobby, and you know, just as I do, it's next to my job, it's just a hobby. And so this is the easiest way to support without actually doing anything apart from just pressing a button. That would be super helpful. I do thank you a lot in advance, and hopefully you could take a lot out of this video, inspiration for your rafts and flumes and whatnot. Can't wait to see what you do with it, and until then, have a good time and bye!